In 2007, researchers at Stanford put people inside a brain scanner and showed them products they could buy. Something strange happened. The moment a desirable product appeared on screen, the same region of the brain lit up that activates when we anticipate food or falling in love. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. The pleasure didn't come from owning the product. It came from wanting it, which raises an uncomfortable question. One we're going to answer by the end of this video. If the joy of buying peaks before we own the thing, what exactly are we paying for? Because the answer isn't stuff. It never was. Let me describe someone. Tell me if they sound familiar. They work hard. They're not reckless with money. But every month, there's a gap between what they earned and what they saved. And when they look at their bank statement, they can't quite explain where it went. A gadget here, a pair of shoes there, a subscription they forgot about. Nothing dramatic, just a slow, quiet leak. Here's why this matters more than most people realize. The average American household carries thousands of dollars of credit card debt, much of it from purchases they couldn't name 6 months later. Storage units in the United States now cover more square footage than some entire industries. We literally rent buildings to hold the things we bought that we don't use. And the common mistake, we treat this as a discipline problem. We tell ourselves, I just need more willpower. But that's like telling someone standing in a rainstorm, they just need to try harder to stay dry. The problem isn't your willpower. The problem is that you're playing a game designed by people who understand your brain better than you do. Stay with me, because once you see the design, you can't unsee it. Let's go back to that Stanford brain study. What researchers found is that buying runs on a chemical called dopamine. Most people think dopamine is the pleasure chemical. It's not. It's the anticipation chemical. Dopamine surges when a reward is possible, not when it arrives. That's why the package on your doorstep is exciting, and the item inside it 3 days later is just another object in your home. Psychologists call the second half of that curve hedonic adaptation. Whatever we acquire, we adjust to. The new car becomes just the car. The upgraded phone becomes just the phone. Our happiness returns to baseline, and the brain starts scanning for the next hit of anticipation. Now layer a second force on top of that. Behavioral economists have shown that humans feel losses about twice as strongly as equivalent gains. It's called loss aversion. Why does that matter for shopping? Because modern marketing rarely sells you a gain, it sells you a loss you can avoid. Only 3 left in stock. Sale ends tonight. Don't miss out. That countdown timer on the checkout page isn't information. It's a lever pressed directly against a 2-million-year-old survival instinct. And there's a third force, the quietest one, the most expensive one: identity. We don't buy products. We buy evidence of who we want to be. The running shoes are a vote for I'm someone who exercises. The expensive planner is a vote for I'm organized now. The purchase gives us the feeling of transformation without the work of it. Here's the mystery I want you to hold on to. If all this is hardwired, how do some people escape it? Because some do. And what they do differently is not what you'd expect. We'll get there. First, what the smartest minds on money have figured out. Daniel Kahneman, the psychologist who won a Nobel Prize in economics, spent his career proving that we have 2 modes of thinking. One fast and emotional, one slow and rational. What this teaches us about spending is simple but profound. Nearly every impulse purchase is made by the fast brain, and nearly every regret is felt by the slow one. The transaction happens in seconds. The reflection happens in weeks. Retailers know exactly which brain they're selling to. Then there's the writer Morgan Housel, who studies the psychology of wealth. His central observation is that money decisions are almost never made on spreadsheets. They're made at dinner tables, shaped by ego, envy, and the stories we tell ourselves. This reveals something important. When you buy something you don't need, you're usually not buying the object. You're buying a message, often aimed at people who aren't even paying attention. Housel's most quoted idea is that when you see someone in a luxury car, you rarely think, wow, that driver is impressive. You think, if I had that car, people would think I'm impressive. Nobody is thinking about you. They're busy thinking about themselves, which means the audience you're spending money to impress doesn't exist. Robert Cialdini, the researcher behind the classic work on influence, documented how scarcity, social proof, and reciprocity are used to move us toward yes without our awareness. Free samples aren't generosity. They're a down payment on your sense of obligation. And retail anthropologist Paco Underhill spent decades literally following shoppers around stores with a clipboard. His finding? Stores are engineered environments. The milk is at the back for a reason. The candy is at the register for a reason. The mirrors, the music tempo, the width of the aisles, nothing is accidental. Even the 18th century philosopher noticed that he received a beautiful scarlet robe as a gift, and his old furniture looked shabby next to it. So he upgraded the desk, then the chair, then the rugs. One free gift bankrupted him. Today we call it the Diderot effect. Each purchase creates a gravitational pull toward the next one. 5 different thinkers, 2 centuries apart, all pointing at the same truth. The purchase is never really about the product. So what is it about? Here's where it gets personal. Picture 2 co-workers, same salary, same city. Let's call them Dana and Marcus. Dana had a stressful week, so Friday night she treats herself. A phrase worth noticing, by the way, because it frames spending as self-care. She browses her phone in bed. 40 minutes later, she spent $180 on things she couldn't have named that morning. The dopamine hit lasts until roughly the moment the confirmation email arrives. Marcus had the same stressful week. He also felt the pull, but years ago he built one rule. Anything over $50 goes on a list, and it waits 72 hours. Not no, just not yet. Here's what happens in those 72 hours. The fast brain hands the decision to the slow brain. The scarcity timer expires, and the product is somehow still in stock, which tells you what that timer really was. About 8 out of 10 items on Marcus's list never get bought. Not through discipline, through delay. 10 years later, that gap, roughly a couple $100s a month invested, is the difference between the two of them measured in tens of thousands of dollars. Same income, same temptations. One rule. And notice something else about Dana's Friday night. She wasn't shopping because she needed anything. She was shopping because she felt bad. Researchers have found that sadness and stress measurably increase what people are willing to pay for the same items. Retail therapy is real. It's just the most expensive therapy on the market. And the relief wears off before the credit card statement does. The purchase was never the problem. The feeling underneath it was. Which brings us, finally, to the answer I promised you at the start. If wanting feels better than having, then the goal isn't to stop wanting. It's to stop paying for wanting. Here's how, in 5 moves. 1. Install the 72-hour rule. Anything non-essential over your threshold, pick a number, goes on a list and waits 3 days. You're not denying yourself. You're just letting both brains vote. 2. Name the feeling before the purchase. Before you tap buy, ask one question. What am I feeling right now? Bored, stressed, lonely, insecure? If the answer is anything other than, I genuinely need this, you found what you're actually shopping for, and no product on earth sells it. 3. Convert price into hours. Take your real hourly wage, after taxes, and translate every purchase into hours of your life. A $300 impulse buy might be 2 full days of work. Suddenly the question isn't, can I afford it? It's, is it worth 2 days of my life? 4. Make friction your friend. Delete stored credit cards, remove shopping apps from your home screen, unsubscribe from promotional emails. Every one of them is a professionally engineered trigger arriving in your pocket. Companies spend billions removing friction between you and the purchase. Spend 10 minutes adding it back. 5. Buy the identity with behavior, not products. Want to be a runner? Run today, in the shoes you own. Want to be organized? Clear one drawer. The identity you're trying to purchase can only be earned, and earning it is free. None of this requires willpower in the moment. That's the point. You're not fighting the rainstorm, you're building a roof. So let's answer the question from the beginning. If the joy peaks before we own the thing, what are we paying for? We're paying for a feeling, a brief chemical preview of a better life. And the industry built around that preview is very good at its job. But here's the insight worth keeping. Every purchase you skip isn't a sacrifice. It's a transfer. From the version of you that wants to feel rich for an evening to the version of you that gets to be free for a lifetime. The most expensive things you'll ever buy are the things you didn't need. And the most valuable thing you'll ever own is the moment you paused before buying them. This channel exists for one reason: to show you how your mind and your money are connected. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next.